realized that wasn't sustainable. I can't say yes to every project. I can't say yes to every opportunity.
Hi, Wolfpack fans. Welcome back to Engineering Pack Pod. Today we have NCSU alum Robin Batsuli. Hello, Robin.
Hey, Marcy. Thank you for having me. It's so nice to be back on campus and back in the lots of memories walking up from the parking lot here.
I can imagine. Yes, and just even parking is a deal when you come to campus. But you made it, my friend. We met when you were an undergraduate here a few years back.
Right.
And you were in a leadership program that I had the honor of facilitating, and we followed your career path. You are currently systems engineer at Nutanix, but there's been a couple of things before that, specializing in cloud native and AI infrastructure. A proud NC State alum, Robin has quickly built a reputation for combining deep technical expertise with standout communication skills, earning top performance recognition early in his career. From data protection and zero trust architecture at Dell to hybrid cloud infrastructure at Nutanix, he brings both technical depth and customer first thinking to everything he does. He's passionate about systems design, curiosity-driven learning, and helping the next generation of technologists connect classroom skills to the real-world impact. So you've been out 2 or 3 years now?
Wow. 3 years now.
3 years now.
Yeah.
And you've gone from Dell to Nutanix, so already made a big career change. Would love to hear you talk about that because you relocated and then you figured out that maybe that wasn't the right fit.
Yeah. No, I'd love to talk about that. So, a little backstory there. I graduated from NC State summer 2023. After graduating, living in Raleigh, North Carolina, all 4 years of university, I actually made the move to Austin, Texas. So I grabbed my cat, we got in the car, we drove down to Austin, Texas, 20 hours, and I started my career over at Dell. So that was a really, really cool and unique experience. I think when I came into college, I thought everyone relocated for undergrad, but as my senior year started to go, I realized that it was more unique to relocate for undergrad than I thought. So I relocated. It was a really great experience because I had a cohort of also new grads as well. We went through a 3-month training program. And then after a year and a half at Dell, I actually made the decision to relocate back just because I think personally I had a lot more in North Carolina for personal reasons and everything like that. But I also was able to start working at Nutanix. So I went from a large, at the time, 140,000 employee company to a almost 10,000 employee company now. So it's been quite the journey for me.
That's quite a contrast. Thinking about for a student listening today, do I want to go with one of these big name companies where it's so many people versus a smaller company? What would you say would be the main value systems to lead you to one or the other?
Yeah, no, that's a really great question. I think about it often. I actually just hit my 1 year at Nutanix, so that's been really fun. And I think the biggest difference between a company the size of Dell versus Nutanix is mostly in procedures. So when at Dell, if you had an idea, and they're very forward and they're very innovative with thinking, but when you do have an idea, there's a lot more, how can you say it, red tape to it. You have to get more approvals. There's a lot of documentation that maybe you just don't know exists. Maybe someone's done it before and you can't find it. And so with me being someone that I like to claim that I'm innovative and I like to have a lot of ideas, that became more of if I have an idea, it's going to take me a little bit longer. It's harder to find budget a lot of times. I think the biggest difference between a larger company, a more medium-sized company is here at Nutanix with 10,000 employees. I've had tons of ideas and I've never been stopped for an idea if there's a reason behind it. There's been budget support, there's been people support, there's been resources support. So personally for me, I believe that working at this medium-sized company was great. Not to say anything negative about a large company, because there's also a lot of benefits of being at a large company, such as the amount of material, training, resources, people that are available there as well. So there's pros and cons to both sides, of course.
I like the way you explain that, and that's nice for people to think about what's important to them. And the good news is you're not locked in. You get to make transitions and shifts, and based on if you feel like you have the opportunity to make a change, which you did. So you've told students to really lean into specific courses like systems design and SQL and networking. What did you learn from those classes that you didn't realize would become so critical now that you're in the quote unquote real world?
Yeah, that's a really great point. So specifically the classes around SQL, networking, systems management in general, they're very broad courses where I'm not directly coding in my day-to-day job. But with SQL, understanding the foundation of how databases are made or how does the code work if I needed to get into it, it's made me more of a versatile employee. I know we didn't talk about it yet, but I deal with a lot of customers. I work very client facing. So although I'm not somebody that's working day to day on a database, because I've had the backstory and because I've had the projects in my courses, I'm able to relate to them a little bit more when they bring up oh, I'm working on this database thing, I'm working on something SQL related, and I'm able to start talking about them on, even if it's a higher level for me, I'm able to start talking to them about my experience with it as well, and I'm able to learn with them. It creates a stronger relationship where they don't just see me as somebody coming from a vendor. That's how they refer to the companies that have technology or hardware that are coming to quote unquote sell to you, but they see you as a partner. It's like, oh, they really understand where I'm coming from. So courses that, although aren't directly applicable all the time to your career, they come up and they become very helpful, especially in the IT and technical fields there.
And working in the IT technical field, can you elaborate a little bit on maybe a technical day or a typical day, I should say, and how it relates to what you studied and what are some things you're learning on the job?
Yeah, absolutely. So with the field that I'm in, I think I'm in a pretty unique field where my title is systems engineers. Some people call it sales engineer, some people call it solutions architect. But what that means is I'm part of a sales team and I'm the technical resource on that team. So I have, right now I'm tied to three salespeople who they go out, they find opportunities where Nutanix can be a fit for the customers or prospects environments, right? So when they go and they meet somebody who actually has interest in Nutanix, so sometimes you get the cold calls and you just quickly hang up, but sometimes the cold calls are, oh, this could be helpful. I'm the person they talk to next, where let me understand how we can be helpful to you. What are you doing today? What are you looking to do? What initiatives are you having for yourself, or what initiatives are being pushed onto you from, let's say, the executive team? So after listening to conversations like that, I'll use an example for an AI initiative. So, hey, us as an executive team, we want to start using AI, go figure it out. And then the people who are actually needing to figure it out, sometimes they don't know that, oh, hey, Nutanix, we have a solution that can help you get from no AI experience to setting up a system that's going to be able to have AI, not only just have it, but also have secure. So, those are a lot of my conversations where I'm just going into a meeting, I'm meeting somebody for the first time, I sit down, I listen, I ask them questions to understand what is their environment, what is their IT infrastructure like today, and how can Nutanix help. And so from there, that's when I started doing more of the engineering of designing the systems, understanding what kind of, and not to go too far in tech, but processors, what kind of memory do you need, what kind of storage do you need. So that's where I start using my technical expertise there.
It's quite a combination between the technical and the communication. And I know when we met, when you were an undergrad, that's something that stood out. You could get up in front of a room and really command attention of people, very articulate, very, I guess, communication and interpersonal skills are strong for you. I'm trying to remember your top Gallup strengths. We should have reviewed that beforehand.
I know there was maximizer, there was achiever, ideation, futuristic, and I can't
Oh my
remember
God, that's
number
pretty
five.
impressive, though. I feel
Thank
like
you.
communications is in the top 10 somewhere. So, when you're combining communication with technical skills, what advice do you have for students that also want to be able to leverage those two? How can they start building that communication muscle now?
Great question. It's such a great topic. Now that I'm getting far into my career, I'm actually mentoring some of the new hires that we have. So straight out of undergrad or straight out of grad school, sometimes we have those who come in. Some aren't as technical, some are technical. What I really like to communicate is when you do have that technical knowledge, even if it's grown or even if it's always been there, the most important thing about being able to communicate is meeting the person where they're at. You can be the smartest person in the room, but if you can't communicate why a certain idea matters, or in my case, if I can't communicate why I think the system that I designed for your company is the best, then it could be the absolute best system, but it won't matter because I'm not able to communicate it. So I've seen a lot of times people go in, they're presenting, and the first thing they want to do is get into the nitty gritty of, hey, this is exactly how it works. It has this many cores, it has this model, it does this, versus talking about, hey, I decided that listening to you in our conversation, it really matters that you have a smaller IT team of two people in America, one person in Thailand, and so it really matters that with operations, it's simple, it's quick, it's efficient, and it can be automated. So, listening to everything that you told me, I decided to create this system where it is much more focused on operational day to day tasks versus performance, because it's okay if it's a little bit slower if you don't have to go work with it manually for the reasons of your organization.
I like that. And you really have listened to them. Listening skills are so important. Were there some things as an undergraduate that you did that helped build that muscle that you would recommend another student maybe participate in
Mm.
outside of the classroom?
Man, I there are so many things in undergrad and graduate where one, career ambassadors, of course, that really teaches you leadership, professionalism, and it helps you get up and present. I was actually president of Society of Sales Engineers at NC State. So that's where you meet the technical and the communication, you mix it in between. Where I think that was really important to me that I didn't realize wasn't even a normal experience is I was doing at least 2 to 3 presentations a week. Sometimes they're class focused, sometimes they're career ambassador focused, sometimes it was talking about how to get to the Hillsborough Target the quickest from Wolf Village. And we would actually debate it. I'd present, I'd go up, and just getting used to having these conversations and being in front of people helps you realize, oh, what do I do when I'm presenting? Or what worked? What laid well with the audience? Because you'll get a lot of conversations where, hey, Marcy, I think you should do this when presenting because it works for me, but maybe humor isn't the best thing for me. Maybe analogies aren't the best thing for me. Maybe it's just you have to go around and figure out what works for you in presenting. And so, through all the organizations I was a part of, that was a really, really key element on making sure I was comfortable getting up in front of people, whether it's public speaking to a large crowd or just a one on one conversation. And the biggest thing I learned is I have to slow myself down when I'm talking. So there's tons of different presentation skills, but career ambassadors, Society of Sales Engineers, and even playing volleyball on campus, teaching the team spirit. I believe anything you get involved in, as long as you're intentional about it, can be great for you in the long run.
I love hearing you reminisce on that and saying kind of how that's impacted you now that you're in the professional world. So thank you for walking through that. And I agree, team sports, those are always great too because you're just working with other people and that's what the world
Right,
is. You're never just in a little cubicle, not
right.
interacting. You've described yourself as, and it's possible I read this on your LinkedIn, customer obsessed. You have a healthy obsession with customers. What does that actually look like day to day in a systems engineering role?
I describe myself as obsessed because I do work in a sales field. Even though I'm the engineer on the sales team, I'm still part of a sales team and I do work partly on commission. That's true across any type of sales that you do. There's going to be an aspect of commission. So the more you sell, the more money you make. But even with that, you still have to be on the engineering mindset where it's very important that you're selling solutions that work for your customers. So there's a different mindset where I say I'm customer obsessed. There's also money obsessed or selling obsessed where I want to make sure it's a solution for the customer. And I believe the more you think about what the customer needs and the right solution, that's going to be more of a conversation of honestly, your sales will go up when you really understand your customer, when you're really providing what they need. Versus, I know a lot of people, when they hear sales, they think of car salesmen and like, hey, we just want to get you in the newest model immediately. Versus someone walking into the car dealership and really understanding, hey, what are you looking for a vehicle for? Are you looking for a family vehicle? Are you looking for a cruiser? What's your old vehicle? Why didn't you like it? Oh, you still like your vehicle. Well, why are you in the dealership? And understanding that process to get them in the right car solution. So that's where I kind of claim with the customer obsessed is I really like to hear, hey, what and how can this work for you? Because that's where the engineering part comes from me is talking to new people, solving their problems with technology at the end of the day.
And technology, AI, all of this is moving so fast. So, how do you personally stay ahead without burning out?
Yeah, there's a lot of technology in the world right now, and especially with the over the last 2 years, AI has gotten so much bigger. And then you have to think about, well, what are the systems underneath AI? So, for example, containerization, Kubernetes. No one talks about that as often, but you can't have AI without that most of the time. So a lot of times it looks like blocking out my day where yes, there's sales calls, there's people that need me, but I need 1 to 2 hours to just study. At Nutanix right now, our for the systems engineer role, we have to get a certification every quarter or every half. So I'm constantly getting a new certification, whether it's Nutanix related, where it's more general specific to the IT industry and all. But you really have to be intentional and find time to catch up because technology moves really fast where it will leave you behind if you aren't actively learning.
And it can feel very overwhelming. Do you have any techniques you use for setting your boundaries and making sure that you don't become so workaholic that you're not having a personal life?
Yeah, I think that's been something that I've had to learn a lot recently as well with starting at a new company, being on a new sales team. The first thing that you want to do is make a name for yourself. You want to prove yourself. And so you'll start saying yes to every project, every opportunity. And I hit the point where I realized that wasn't sustainable. I can't say yes to every project. I can't say yes to every opportunity. And there's a point where I hit that same wall in college. So it was a lot of a learning opportunity for me where I had to start setting boundaries. And those boundaries looked like when I would get a request, I'd have to ask, hey, when do you need this by? Or is this really needed right now? Because a lot of times in a fast moving pace like sales, people are going to have urgency. They're going to say, hey, we really need this tomorrow. We really need this now. But then having the questions, well, who's telling you you need it now? Can I talk to them? Or what if I get this to you next week because I have this? So really setting the boundaries and also having the notifications silenced on your phones. That's a given, but it's very important because if you see a message at 8 p.m. and you think you can do a 5 minute quick response, and then all of a sudden it's 9, 10 p.m. and you're still working on it, that's where you can get caught in the trap of not having the work-life balance.
So you would personally turn things off at night and just be like, I am unplugged.
Yeah, when that's possible outside of like an end of quarter situation where, it's part of you have to be there, then it's important to know when you don't need to be there, that's when you should be unplugging.
And what would be, as we wrap up, our last question will be kind of more self care focused. What are some practices that you use to keep your mental health and emotional well being strong?
Yeah, for me, there's a couple things. Physical activity is always a huge thing for me. I realize when I'm not doing anything active, whether that's volleyball, weightlifting, or just being outside, I can start to feel that. And then on the mental health part, of course, a lot of companies they now offer um, counseling, therapy. There's a lot of free solutions in there that you can go and get help one time, multiple times using that, journaling, and honestly, sometimes just sitting down and letting things slow down a little bit when you start noticing that things are getting really stressful. So there's tons of different opportunities and resources for you. I feel like, especially in the corporate world, they started to offer that more and more. And so taking advantage of what you have is really important. And of course, friends and family, sharing, being vulnerable with them, it's all very important.
Those were wonderful. And I didn't realize you had therapy and counseling offered through your company. So, what a wonderful benefit. No
Yeah.
stigma with that to take care of yourself.
Hmm.
Thank you so much,
Yeah.
Robin.
Thank you. I appreciate being here. It's great being back on campus as well, Marcy.
Loved our conversation.